So my creativity project starts off at actually 2 years ago. I had this crazy idea, hey, I should make some sourdough bread. It was a skill I wanted to learn. I gave it a go. I ended up making 2 bricks of cooked dough. It was dense, it was non-edible. So I kind of shelved that project. And then this summer I was down in San Francisco, and I went to the most amazing bakery ever. They made this light, fluffy bread. And what happened is every day at 4 o'clock, this bakery would kind of take their bread out of the oven, and it would be sold by 4:30. So there was lineups down the block. It was just kind of something in San Francisco people loved, people went to get. And I tried it, and it kind of got me thinking, I should try this again. So from that bakery, I actually bought a book. And I didn't realize that it took 200 pages to make good bread, but it did. So yeah, so this was kind of my inspiration, this tartan bakery. Started up by a really cool guy who kind of traveled around Europe, learned to make bread, and he actually makes bread in the morning and then goes surfing in the afternoon. So kind of has the ideal life. It makes me reconsider the MBA. And so here was kind of my crowning achievement. This is the second loaf I baked. I was able to get it nice and fluffy and kind of crispy on the outside. And what amazed me is just the simplicity of making bread. Really, all you need is 3 ingredients. You need flour, water, and salt. And something called a starter, which is half water, half flour. You kind of put it in a bowl, leave it in a corner for 3 days. It starts to kind of grow the good bacteria. And the thing with it is, I also had a pet. Every day you had to kind of feed it a little bit more flour, feed it a little bit more water, just to keep it alive and keep it growing. So that's kind of what the starter looks like, this ugly mess of flour and water, but a key ingredient to making good bread. The other thing I didn't realize before starting was just how long it actually took to make bread. You can't just kind of be like, hey, okay, let's make some bread. 2 hours later, it's done. No, it's kind of wake up in the morning, mix everything. The mixing doesn't take that long, and then you've got to let it sit. You let it sit for an hour, you let it sit for 4 hours, another half hour, massage it a bit more, let it sit. So it takes about 10.5 hours, all said and done. And this was my first attempt. So my first attempt was also, one, I didn't read the book quite properly, so I cooked it about half the time. And the other thing, it didn't have enough bacteria, so it just kind of stayed flat, stayed dense. Tasted like sourdough, but something you'd want to take on like a hardy hiking trip or tour. Now, my second attempt was a lot better. This was probably the crowning achievement. That's the one I showed you before. It was kind of nice and fluffy. I did run into a few problems. The starter started to get moldy, so I just scooped out the middle part, used it, and it was kind of dying a little bit, so put some yeast in there, which helped it rise. Don't worry, this bread was made with a new starter, no mold, everything's okay. And then, so I tried again last night. It's a little bit denser than the second one, but there it is, fresh made bread. Bon appetit.